Hi guys, this is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. We are currently going through the book of 1 Samuel. We are doing this chapter by chapter, and it will be nice for you to listen to the end of this recording because the lesson from the chapter which we'll be reading today will be shared at the end, or rather I will share the lessons at the end. Also, kindly subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so that you never miss any new recording. We're in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 7, and I'll be reading this from the NLT version with, again, the lessons shared at the end. So kindly follow through with the story. So at this point, what is happening? The Philistines have returned the Ark of the Covenant to a certain place called, I've forgotten the name. It's called Kiriath. No, it's not Kiriath. It's called, wait you guys, I can't remember. I can do this. It's called Beth Shemesh. And then the people of Beth Shemesh have given sacrifices, and some of them have looked at the ark and have died, and they have called the people of Kiriath-jearim to come and get the Ark of the Covenant. So this is where we actually start off the story in chapter 7. All right, so let me read. It says, so the men of Kiriath-jearim came to get the Ark of the Lord. They took it to the hillside home of Abinadab and ordained Eleazar, his son, to be in charge of it. So they basically took it to a priest who was in charge at that point in that town, which is Kiriath-jearim. Oh my goodness. The ark remained in Kiriath-jearim for a long time, 20 years in total. During that time, the Israel mourned because it seemed like the Lord had abandoned them. So finally, the Ark of the Covenant is back with the Israelites, and it has gotten a place to stay, at least for the next 20 years. So the life continues. And so in the next part of this chapter, it actually is titled, Samuel Leads Israel to Victory. You guys know that we are still in the story of Samuel, right? I'm just sahau your part. Anyway, so let me continue. This is verse 3. It says, then Samuel said to all the people of Israel, if you want to return to the Lord with all your hearts, get rid of your foreign gods and your images of Ashtoreth. Turn your hearts to the Lord and obey him alone. Then he will rescue you from the Philistines. So the Israelites got rid of their images of Baal and Ashtoreth and worshipped only the Lord. Then Samuel told them, gather all of the Israelites at Mizpah, and I will pray to the Lord for you. So they gathered at Mizpah, and in great ceremony drew water from the well and poured it before the Lord. They also went without food all day and confessed that they had sinned against the Lord. It was at Mizpah that Samuel became Israel's judge. So remember that for as long as we have encountered Samuel, he has been a prophet, but on this specific day, he actually became a judge. Verse 7, it says, when the Philistines rulers heard that the Israelites had gathered at Mizpah, they mobilized their armies and advanced. Please remember, we are still in the era of judges where there is no king, so the guys are doing whatever they want, and they are also having to deal with the consequences. And those consequences of those nations, those are the nations that are living in Canaan, or rather their promised land, is that they are oppressing them. So in this specific time, it was the Philistines that were oppressing them. So when the Philistines rulers heard that the Israelites had gathered at Mizpah, they mobilized their armies and they wanted to go and advance. Then the Israelites were badly frightened, and they learned that the Philistines were approaching. They said, don't stop. Samuel said to them, don't stop pleading with the Lord our God to save us from the Philistines. They begged Samuel, or rather, they were begging Samuel to tell him to not stop pleading. So Samuel took a young lamb and offered it to the Lord as a whole burnt offering. He pleaded with the Lord to help Israel, and the Lord answered him. Just as Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines arrived to attack Israel. But the Lord spoke with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven that day, and the Philistines were thrown into such confusion that the Israelites defeated them. Please remember, for the longest time, we haven't had God speaking himself. Like, it's been such a long time since we had this happening. Number one. And then it's also been such a long time since these guys actually just, completely got rid of all their foreign gods and turned back to God. And I mean, this is amazing that on the day that they choose to turn away from their idol gods is the day that God actually chooses to speak and help them defeat the Philistines. It says that, but the Lord spoke with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven that day, and the Philistines were thrown into such confusion that the Israelites defeated them. The men of Israel chased them from Mizpah to a place called Bethka, slaughtering them all along the way. All of them, they were slaughtered. Samuel then took a large stone and placed it between the towns of Mizpah and Jeshnan. He named it Ebenezer, which means the stone of help. For he said, up to this point, the Lord has helped us. Oh, maybe that's up to this far, the Lord has helped us. Oh, okay. Now I know where that comes from. So to the Philistines, verse 13 says, so the Philistines were subdued and they didn't invade Israel again for some time. And throughout Samuel's lifetime, the Lord's powerful hand was raised against the Philistines. The Israelites, villagers near Ekron and Gath that the Philistines had captured were restored to Israel, along with the rest of the territory that the Philistines had taken. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites in those days. Samuel continued as Israel's judge for the rest of his life. Each year, he traveled around, setting up court first at Bethel, then at Gilgal, and then at Mizpah. He judged the people of Israel at each of these places. Then he would return to his home at Ramah, and he would hear cases there too. And Samuel built an altar to the Lord at Ramah. So Samuel basically just became the judge. So he'd move from one place to another to hear cases and to actually judge on them. And that is the end of chapter 7. So my observation is that first there is something beautiful that happens, or about turning away from your lost ways and coming back to God. That, in itself, that comes with blessings as well. For the longest time, let me tell you guys, for the longest time, I have struggled to say this on camera, or at least in public. I've struggled to say that the blessings of the Lord are free, but they are not automatic. The blessings of the Lord are free of charge, but they're not automatic. They require a level of commitment and obedience from our side. And I find it so interesting that the day that these guys committed themselves to God completely is the day He came through for them. Like, that is all it took. So first, let's begin with the greatest blessing and the gift of all, the gift of salvation. Whereas it is free, it is not automatic. It requires that we believe, it requires that we confess, and it requires that we receive that salvation. So in this chapter and story, we see the Israelites experiencing two things that hadn't happened in a long time. The most obvious one is that first they had victory over their enemies, because these guys were just receiving beatings left, right, and center. So for a very long time, they had not experienced victory, and that they experienced on this specific day. But also for a very long time, the Lord had not spoken with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven. Like, the Lord had not spoken with his voice. So these two events happened after the Israelites had gotten rid of their false gods. They had turned fully to God and had put all their trust and dependence on Him. What I'm trying to say is that all the promises and blessings in the Word of God are free, but they are not automatic. In order for us to receive them, or for them to come to pass in our lives and in our lifetime, it requires commitment from our sides. Luckily, our contribution is not works or the things that we do that make us look holier to others and to God. It's not that. It's not the going to church. It's not the things that you do to make yourself look holier, or the things that you do to, to kind of please God. It's not the works. That is not the contribution that we make. I'm not talking about religious acts. I'm talking about our commitment, our full commitment to God, to His Word, and an unwavering trust and faith in God. So here are some reflection questions for you. Number one, are you experiencing all the blessings and promises of God? Are you experiencing all the promises and blessings of God? Number 2, are there some idols that you need to get rid of so you can fully place your faith in God? Just like the Israelites did. They came and they burnt their idol gods. They completely, committed their lives to God. So are there some idols that you need to get rid of so that you can place your full faith in God? Number 3, in what areas do you need to fully commit to God and what His word says that you should do? In what areas do you need to fully commit to God and do what His word says you should do? You see, the thing is, as you commit yourself fully to God and get rid of the idols in your life, the Lord will do 2 things. First, He will speak with a loud voice and scatter all your enemies, throwing them into great confusion. And He will cause there to be victory in your life. And then you will receive all those promises, all those blessings that are found in the word of God as you commit yourself fully to God. That's my prayer for you today. As you commit yourself fully to God, that the Lord will speak with a loud voice and scatter all your enemies, throwing them into great confusion, and all the plans of the enemy in your life will be scattered, and that He will cause you to have victory in the areas that you need victory in your life, and that He will cause His blessings and promises to become a reality in your life. This is your girl Kiriath-jearim, and this has been Reflections by Kiriath-jearim. See you tomorrow.